virals, and probably we won't need to give peg interferon and ribavirin anymore. If you take the drug telaprevir monotherapy, it was clear that with treatment there would definitely be an immediate response to therapy. But what was the problem? The same problem that we have with HCV virus, the quasi-species, the mutations, and because of the mutation, these drugs became dangerous to use on its own. You take boceprevir, it's a structurally novel peptidomimetic ketamide HCV NS3 protease, and it's an inhibitor that binds reversibly to the NS3 active site. So you look at these two drugs that have now been licensed. Boceprevir is a potent inhibitor of the HCV NS3 4A protease. Telaprevir is also similarly a good potent inhibitor. And they have been trialed in several trials, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 now. And in several of these trials, the SPRINT 2, the RESPOND 2, the ADVANCE, ILLUMINATE, they've been found to be very useful. So the addition of telaprevir or boceprevir to peg interferon and ribavirin improves the SVR significantly, as you can see in these studies in genotype 1 patients. So it's good in treatment naive as well as treated patients. And when you look at these two drugs, the telaprevir and the boceprevir, the one big difference is you need an initial lead-in phase of 4 weeks of peg interferon and ribavirin in boceprevir, while in telaprevir we don't need that. Several of the other treatment schedules are similar. In telaprevir you have a problem with rash, and with boceprevir you have a problem with anemia as well as a loss of taste sensation. This is another host of new drugs, many of them even unpronounceable. I just put them up just so that you can see that there's a whole lot of research going on, and the next 3 slides are that, with a number of new drugs that will be available hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years. So when you look at the main activity of the DAAs on HCV genotype, you'll find that is mainly useful for 1 and 2. This one here is useful for 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. But you notice that for the genotype 3, which is mainly our patients, we don't have a new drug coming up. So the evolving definitions for treating patients with directly acting antivirals are very similar to what we already have, the RVR, the EVR, and the sustained virological response. And the dosing frequency for all these drugs have been worked out in great detail. So what are the pros and cons of treating? When you treat patients, the protease inhibitors substantially increase the chance of SVR. And it is possible that we'll be able to wait for a little longer to add these patients. And there are selected trials that are going on now with the use of each of these drugs. So the patients that respond early to DAAs as well have a higher SVR rates, but you will also find that when they do not act, as in the case of this one and the next study, it is better to stop the use of the directly acting antivirals. Here again, the IL-28B genotype predicts the likelihood of achieving better sustained viral response, both with boceprevir and telaprevir. So when do you consider testing for IL-28B genotype? When do you test for them? When it is a priority for you to know what is the best combination to use. Are you likely to succeed better? And we are talking more and more about response-guided therapy. Will you be able to cut down can you take the patient off drugs earlier, and therefore it becomes a personalized type of therapy possible. So in summary, the use of genotype and the resistance assays are useful both in boceprevir and telaprevir, so that the IL-28B genotyping must be considered prior to therapy if you need more information, and you are planning to do response-guided therapy. So the take-home points for us will be that tenofovir is now available. It should be given along with peginterferon and ribavirin, and the same thing with boceprevir as well. So in summary, these drugs are used in combination with what we already have and only in genotype 1. So when you ask yourself the question, what about in the study Sprint 2, the questions asked were, does boceprevir improve rates? Can it be used as response-guided therapy? And the answer from the studies is yes. Does response-guided therapy allow for shortening of therapy? Again, the answer is yes. The problem is anemia. The questions asked with tenofovir, again, similarly, does it improve rates? The answer is yes. But be careful, because you have anemia, you have, especially with tenofovir, a real problem with rash. You have to proceed with caution. Can the therapy be shortened? Certainly yes, when more and more studies are done. Now, what are the similarities and the differences between tenofovir and boceprevir? In tenofovir, you need not have a lead-in phase, while boceprevir needs a lead-in phase of 4 weeks. The dosage are nearly similar, 8 hourly, one is 750, the other is 800, and the response can be shortened. So again, as I mentioned before, the IL-28B, all these studies have shown that it does help in when you treat a patient with the newer modalities that are available. A whole lot of new drugs are in the pipeline. Cyclophilins, nitazoxanide, therapeutic vaccines, antibody therapy, immunomodulators. They're looking at newer interferons which you might be able to use it without so many complications, and newer ribavirin-like molecules. All these are still in the pipeline, some of them in phase 1, phase 2, but it just tells you that unlike what we had for about 10 years, when we were stuck with a certain type of therapy where we are depending on interferon to help you boost the immunity and ribavirin to help you prevent the relapse, there are a whole lot of new ideas that are coming up. And we hope, especially for our patients, that in the next 4 or 5 years, for Geno 3, we will have newer drugs available. So ladies and gentlemen, it's an exciting phase in the treatment of hepatitis C, and we hope that in the next few years, we will have we may not just have to have more and more paperwork, but actually we will be able to get something specific done for our patients. Thank you for your patient listening.
What's the percentage of patients who really come for the treatment, for this expensive treatment? What's the percentage of patients who really complete the course of treatment and the response in your?
So the center I work in, patients, all of them come for treatment. But I think when I look at, let's say, CMC Vellore, for example, I would think even you'd agree only about 50% of our patients will be able to afford the treatment. It is very expensive, and therefore this is why all these newer drugs will be, first of all, there will be less and less of side effects. Secondly, you won't have to treat for so long. It's 48 weeks, 24 weeks, depending on the genotype. And the expenditure hopefully will be less with the oral directly acting antivirals. But you're right, sir, most of our patients cannot afford it.
Any question from the audience? So there are 4 types of patients. One is hepatitis C virus alone positive. Second, plus cirrhosis.
Yes.
Third, malignancy. Fourth, hepatitis C plus HIV. In these groups, do these drugs have any modified applications and therapy? What is your